Hello, everybody. You are watching Tales from Tomorrow, a Fallout TTRPG actual play series. My name is Kyle, and I will be your overseer this evening. But it's going to be a little bit of an odd evening because a couple of our players, one of them's feeling sick, one of them's a little sleepy, one of them's getting used to a new schedule and job and everything. And I am in the thick of launching our brand new podcast, Vault Broadcast. It comes out this week, actually. It'll probably be the first week of June. We got our very first interview guest lined up for Wednesday, a prop maker, prop master on a movie in the past. Really amazing Nuka-Cola themed armor, and the rest goes to conventions and more. Does videography work and all that. So I'm very excited for that interview. That should happen on Wednesday. And I don't know when you get Vault Broadcast episodes yet. We're gonna work on that. It's probably gonna be something we live stream Wednesdays through Fridays. Maybe start with probably 1 to 2 days a week is gonna be the start, and then expand out over time if people are interested. And it seems like people are interested. We've got a lot of submissions to come on the show, and so I will briefly use this opportunity to say, hey, if you got a lot to say about Fallout, whether you're a TTRPG player, a game master, a prop maker, an event planner, a storyteller, a podcaster, you go on and on and on. If you do something, you create something for the Fallout universe, we want to talk to you. Come on by. The Vault Broadcast interviews are 15 to 45 minutes on or off camera, and we're doing open line segments. Those are going to come a little bit later as well. We're going to do like sort of a soft rollout with features, come out with some interviews at the start. And then as we get a little more notoriety in the community, we're going to have people call in. We got a voice sort of system set up for that, so people can send in voice messages or text to speech messages. More details, of course, later. But that's been taking up a lot of my time this past week, and it's been so fun. Just seeing the excitement from people in the community. It has put new podcasts into my player, and that's what I'm excited for. I'm excited to meet all these new folks who I otherwise just wouldn't find. A lot of other fellow creators who, unfortunately, I always blame the algorithm. Great creators who are sort of lost in the noise out there. And by the way, there's going to be creators from all different walks. But just to say there's so many good shows that I have no clue about, and it's because, well, I think TikTok would rather send you dance videos than it would Fallout podcasts and all that other good stuff that I actually want. So that's what this show hopes to remedy just a little bit, is to be people's one-stop shop on a regular basis where they can come by and listen to their favorite creators out there, meet a lot that they didn't know, but also contribute in their own way to the show, whether that's calling in, whether it's sending in features. We're doing little, we'll take people's snippets, and if you do like little radio dramas of your own and want to send in 5-minute snippets of that, put those at the end of the show. Big cross-promotional space, big share and share alike. So very excited. Vault Broadcast coming soon. Lots of details already out there and lots more to come. I'll be hosting that with Dark Knight, and it sounds like Sky's going to try and come by when he's got some time. It'll be a blast. It's going to be really fun. But I want to introduce everyone here tonight. Sorry, I'm rambling a lot about a show that's very near and dear to me. But I want to say that we've got Sky with us. Hello, Sky. How are you tonight?
Hello. I'm doing well.
Good to have you here. And we got Dark Knight with us. DK, how are you this evening?
Great.
And we got Mac Raven out there. Hello, Raven. How are you? Also, Mac is sick, so...
Okay.
She's holding on there. She's holding on. So we could go in a lot of different directions at the start of this, but this we're going to use as a catch-up episode for people who have not caught our Tales from Tomorrow episodes before. We do these on Sunday nights on Twitch. They are starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. We do the pre-show at 7 o'clock, and then we go for about 3 hours worth each week. And this summer, we're having more people come by and join us for summer campaign series, which are just a free-for-all for the public to come by to join us for podcasts and streams in the future. And we've met some great people through it already. What I had just left off on right before we dove into the show was actually kind of a note on that. I wanted to say to my players a housekeeping note. I sent them a message tonight or earlier today saying we have now hit that peak with how much content is in our game, and specifically how high of level everyone's characters are. They are all now level 8 on their way to level 9 that I asked everyone if they can take a more sturdy hand in calculating their damages and knowing their weapon modifiers, those weapon damage effects and all the rest. It is a beautiful game, but it is one that stacks fairly exponentially. You start getting all these perks and then you got to add one on top of the other, and that one modifies this one, and there's a trait in there and all the rest. And so I'm very thankful to have players here that can take that on. And I think it was just mentioned a moment ago that we are now a year plus into this game. So you are all veterans. A round of applause to all of you. All Fallout veterans. How does that leave you all feeling? Whoever, if you guys want to go in round robin sort of order tonight, that's always a good way to do it so people know who to speak in what order. So Sky, why don't we start with you? How are you feeling at this leg in the journey? Your characters had last just set off into the sunset on the Ohio River, heading off to a new adventure.
I'm feeling great. I do think that it's kind of kicking off a bit. Certainly now that we've left hope. I mean, we've been playing for a long time, but we really haven't journeyed out too far. And it seems like there's a lot coming down the pipeline, which is both like really exciting, but also super intimidating because there's a lot of different people that we're dealing with, and a lot of different factors at play, and it's making it to where, we might not get everything we want, and that can be stressful, especially with the potential threats that are upcoming.
That's interesting you say that. I guess knowing this group at the table here, and especially knowing maybe how you've played Sam's character, it has become pretty obvious, like you were just alluding to there, that not having it all, like you just said, seems to be a little bit stressful. I think Sam may have realized that in the last episode, that maybe it was a little bit of a reality check for him or something. I'm not sure if maybe Sam was operating under the idea. I think he was operating under the idea that he is this hero, and maybe got a little bit of a humbling last week from Rusty.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, we may have doomed the town a couple times over, and while we joke about it and stuff, it definitely hit like a ton of bricks when he mentioned it, and just some of the stuff that we've been doing, it has kind of on the line of like chaotic.
Sure.
So I think it's just kind of maybe chumming up those people wasn't the most lawful good.
Those people being, are we talking about the cultists?
The Mothman, the Mothman bodies. I thought about that the other day.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot going on there in town. And DK, how are you feeling with Jim?
Things are progressing in a way that I never expected, because I'll be honest, I never thought I'd be a D&D kind of guy. I never thought I'd be playing this game, but I'm here playing it, and it's actually really fun.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. So now, a year into Jim's progression through, how are you feeling with that? Like, are you in creating a little bit more of a background for him? Because also, just a general call out to everyone watching this, that's sort of the time that we are in the game, where I've sort of, in the last episode or so, we sort of asked the players here to be thinking more about their background for their characters, so that we have things that I can work into the future. And Jim is quite the mystery character, I think, probably more than just to me. DK, I'm wondering if you started to kind of fill in a little bit more of Jim's history, because I think in game we really don't know too much about him.
Right. I have a little bit here and there, but I'm kind of piecing together a little bit how it's all coming together. But as of right now, it's just here and there little things, and I have the bits of information of how I became, where I am now from when the bombs dropped. But other than that, nothing really has yet to come to mind.
I think that'd be something really good to work on for the near future. Like I'd spend maybe like this week on it, DK. It would help me immensely if you get the chance. I'd flesh out. I mean, I think I asked you guys some really important questions at the start for brainstorming your characters. And one of the ones I still don't think I have the answer for Jim was, how has he been surviving? How does he get through the day by day before he got to Hope? You know, we kind of met just Sam and Jim aimlessly on the side of the road as you know, we were just doing our very first tutorial to the game. But that's a question of curiosity too, is like, how has he been feeding himself since the bombs dropped? And that's kind of a question for both now, but also for extrapolation upon later. Because he's a techie guy, so is he doing any of that sort of stuff?
Well, we know. Well, nobody knows because they weren't here for it. But you know, from when we first started at that house, that rundown house, that I was hacking into the computers and getting information, and so like I've done that, and I probably have done that, you know, in terms of like using it to my advantage to secure supplies and food and that sort of thing. But, you know, just I feel that Jim has, you know, over the course of the time since the fall of the bombs and beyond, you know, has just been kind of wandering aimlessly, like trying to just find a way to survive and, you know, going through different buildings and different places. And I'd imagine, I mean, we didn't really touch on this, but I'd imagine that me and Sam kind of like met up in like a similar fashion to how we met Raven, you know, kind of like just, I've been scavenging the buildings and looking for supplies and just happened to run into Sam, you know?
Sure. Absolutely. You know, this is, I'm not going to put you on the spot for this, but I think one of the next questions that you should probably fill in this week would be thinking about, what relationships did you have? Off the top of my head, Sam and Raven both have a sort of a familial history that I know of. I almost want to say they had a safety net there, but that doesn't exist in the modern space. More of a used to have. Which is where I want to go next in tossing it over to Raven. I'm sure you've pre-typed a little something, so I'm not gonna throw you an odd question here, Mac. I'll get to it in a second, but I'll just start off with, how are you feeling with Raven? I mean, this is a big part of the journey. You know, you've started to sail towards the Mothman Holy Land, so to speak. So how are you feeling with her?
I feel like we are at crossroads where there are many paths to pick it, almost like the games themselves. Also, I love Sam turn to dark side is fun. I must rubbing off on him, but Sam is teaching me to not to hot first, like what I did with the ghoul.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Sam's teaching me not to shoot first like I did with the ghoul. Yeah, Raven's story has come quite a long ways, and as a Mothman cultist, has a lot to say with the upcoming stuff. I mean, we're probably about 2 weeks out from the Mothman equinox within our game's timeline, and as I learned more about the Mothman cultists outside of game, no, is that how to say that? Wait. Yeah, maybe that is the way to say it. As I'm studying the Mothman cultists on my own time outside of our TTRPG sessions, they have a very rich and interesting lore that I guess I didn't realize how interested in it Bethesda is. That they've expanded upon the Mothman within Appalachia, I think 3 times now at minimum. There was the pre-Wastelanders information about the Mothman cult in the game, very minimal. Apparently, you only found their bones and stuff throughout Appalachia. They didn't actually exist as enemy NPCs, to my knowledge. Then Wastelanders comes through and adds them as a faction. The Mothman cultists are there. And then, further on, when they actually do probably the season update of Mothman Equinox, that's when they even elaborated on it further, which is where we all sit, because we're using the cumulative knowledge there with the enlightened versus the dim ones, the cult of the winged ones. it's a big spotlight on Raven and her character, I think.
And the Mothman stuff is very cool and it very deep lore. I love it. Wish I could play 76, but it hates my PC.
Honestly, so agree with that. In fact, I was going to message you today and say we got to figure it out because I am watching these great lore videos. I don't think I shouted it out live in this one, so I'm going to do that now. Irresolute Cartographer on YouTube. Great channel for what I'm doing. He goes by and just kind of catalogs all the locations, tells you how many buildings are there, what type, what bakeries or hair salons or lounges. Like, it goes through and lists all that stuff. And it's so handy for me. I've also found some aerial maps from 76. Not all the towns have them. Whoever was cataloging them did not finish their mission. Please help. I want them all. But anyway, they do have some aerial maps throughout the 76 space, and that's really cool to me because we could use that as battle maps. And I have a plan to do that if anyone checks out our future campaign, Retaking Watoga. There just happens to be an aerial map of Watoga, which is a huge boon for a guy like me. So to Raven's point, 76 is cool. I wish my computer liked it too. I really want to go in there and see the areas. Watching them through Resolute Cartographer is great, but I still just need to walk the roads myself, and my computer also hates it. So I'm not sure what to do about that. It makes me want to upgrade, but who has that money in this economy? Not this guy. Not when there's so many other Fallout things that need to be done and purchased in software. Oh, let's switch over to this music. Here we go.
We need Uncle Todd to send us new PC.
Dear listeners, dear angel investor listeners who have all the money in the world, please open your pockets to us. Actually, why not use this as the promo spot? Naturally, truly organic. If you want to buy any of the cool Bethesda stuff you see sitting in the background of this set, you can use the code BTALES29, BTALES 30, and soon to be 31 and 32. I'm sure those will kick off on Monday. That's tomorrow. Anyway, you could use those codes to save 20% off the Bethesda shop. And when you use it at checkout, you save 20%. We get 10% of a kickback off of that. Very handy, very helpful. It is so much better than just asking people for donations on live streams and things like that. Like bits, subs, all that stuff is lovely, but maybe you just do us both a favor and you go use those codes to save yourself a lot of money on the Bethesda shop. And if you spend a lot of money, we get a lot of money back. So maybe do that. Go buy a bunch of Pip-Boys and some of those Fizz bundles if they're still selling it. Then Uncle Todd will send us a PC.
Look, Uncle Todd to send Mac new PC. I will keep buying shop stuff in 76. See, think of as investment.
Honest to goodness, I mean, they've lost my annual sub because of the it not working on the computers, but I don't know. We never figured out what caused that. I've heard people in the community say it was some NVIDIA patch in December that borked it, but I haven't gotten to play the Ghoul update at all. So let me pivot on here or move. Well, Mac's got one more thing to say. We'll let her say that, and then I'm going to go back to Sky with some questions. Mac, what are you thinking about over there? Maybe she'll save that for her next round. I don't know. Sky, so she mentioned a moment ago, like seeing Sam's descent into kind of darkness as he goes on this path, and I'm really eager to see how that goes for him. Without like kind of saying too much from the DM perspective, it does surprise me that was the moment for Sam, by the way. I mean, I don't want to overpick this one thread, but I think it's a pretty big change in his character as you begin to sail further into Appalachia. I mean, for us as viewers out there, for me as the GM, who I'm kind of a viewer in that way, I'm observing you all. It's interesting to think how sort of conquered and well-trodden the whole of Appalachia is in the 76 game. I'll be curious to see how Sam maybe adjusts to seeing other settlers and other settlements, because there's more life down there than he might be used to hanging out in the distant town of Hope. I'm curious how that might sit in his mind. Will that rehumanize him, or is he going off on his own?
I mean, I certainly am not expecting, like, fully went deep into the dark side. I think that it's really dependent on the type of people that we meet. I do think that perhaps his penchant for, like, I don't know what word to use, but just like the fuse might be a little bit more shorter, especially as time progresses and we start getting closer to essentially like potentially this D-Day with these Mothmen. I think that it's going to be a lot less like, I'll go do whatever you need me to do, so that like I'll do anything for your help, and it'll be a lot more just kind of either you're with us, or we're out, or potentially you're against us. I don't know, but I do think that's definitely what I'm feeling. I'm feeling just a little bit maybe less helpful as these serious things start to come up.
I like how you're saying that. You're articulating a lot that's going on in my mind. And again, I also am trying to be a little careful of what I say from the perspective of the guy that's sort of controlling the universe. But I guess I can say this much, that I do still like bad guys of the week. I think, and I hope, that doing interspersed, longer, more meta threats, like this threat of the Mothman cultists, I have plans, he alludes to vaguely, I have plans for how they will maybe ebb and flow based on your interactions with them, based on how you deal with them, whether you're able to stop them or use other means that I can't even foresee to navigate those waters, that they may play more or less of a role throughout the area. I want to make it clear, I think, to all of my players here, but also to the viewers, that, again, I have not abandoned the monster mystery of the week. In fact, I prefer those many times to overarching campaigns a lot, or plot series. I think of things like Star Trek: The Next Generation. Every episode's a self-contained episode. You don't really need to see the one before it. It helps, it fills things in, but it's a one-off. And I also really recently used an example of the TV series Fringe from all those years ago. Season 1 was all mini monster mysteries, and then they go season 2 and beyond as this one big meta plot. And so you gotta, where before you could like the monster of the week, later on you're sort of just stuck to, like, you either enjoy the big stuff or you don't. And that's something that weighs on my mind for this sort of campaign, just because it has always meant to ebb and flow. I've always meant for these streams to intersect and cross, that the Mothmen were growing in the background. We knew the name of the campaign early on. We knew they were kind of going to be something in the background, and they've been growing and growing and growing. I knew what they were going to do, the attack on Foundation. I knew that was coming as one of the earliest things that I had foreseen plotting out. And then you guys triggered that probably maybe even earlier than I expected somewhat. I really stress that I use all these parts very modularly. Like I have a bunch of, it's almost like having a bunch of different Lego sets in front of you, but I'm not really building one thing in particular. I just take pieces and, like, oh, this is greenery, I'll use this for the garden, and oh, this is industrial, I'll do something here. And I'm using a similar approach to how we concoct this plot, which is that whichever direction you guys go in, I try to have a natural response from the world, something you would expect in the game series, or maybe even just as a human, based on how you react with them. So I want to say, after that little ramble, I want to say I feel like a big change for Sam and the whole crew was with these cultists, guy. The cultists that I thought you guys were going to be, like, really into and enjoying, and in recent episodes, they have been attacked, and they are not getting the reception that I expected from the three of you.
I think that largely ties down to the orb. Again, I mean, I know this is, I know I've talked about this before, but I'm a save scummer in games like this. So, like in Baldur's Gate and things like that. So now it's coming where we have this thing that is putting blocks on things that we're trying to do based off of a roll of a die of a fictional magic 8-ball. And it can become a little bit frustrating.
The irony being that the frustration you just said is the entirety of the game we're playing. D&D tabletops, anything like this are all a game that no matter how well you spec your character, it all still comes down to the die roll that could make you face plant right before the final boss and have the most embarrassing moment ever. And so that frustration that I hear is understandable. It's something that I think just comes with the territory. Maybe you gotta learn to reach out to them better, communicate with them better. You're the communicator, so Jim, however, that I'm about to go on to is not. Jim is not the communicator, and Jim in the last episode did a wowzo. He just shot and killed one of those cultists in cold blood in the town, just blammo, and we don't even know what the ramifications of that are yet. That's crazy. How did that moment come about, DK? How did you? Because you were working with this idea of Jim touching the orb for a while.
Yes. No, that came spur of the moment.
Tell us more. What else were you thinking?
Well, I knew I was going to do it at some point, and I was like, well, we were in this house, and I was like, well, is anybody touching the orb? Because I was like, this might be my chance. And so I went and I took it, and I thought it was going to wasn't going to go as good as it actually did.
Really? Really? So that was the better option outcome.
Yeah.
What was your then maybe intention if it did go wrong? What were you thinking? Were you thinking this might be a way to were you actually thinking you might be ended up rolling a new character if they had killed Jim?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. But he was still motivated to do it. I mean, does he have a character motivation to do something like that? Is he an antagonistic guy that, or what motivated him to grab that thing in particular?
Well, let's just say that Jim is not so gullible when it comes to metaphysical, spiritual, or otherwise superstitions.
Yeah, that's fair.
So he's yeah, well, I'm just gonna, make a mockery of this because it's kind of, in his view, pointless.
Yeah. Sky in Twitch chat wrote, everyone talks about Sam's dark turn, but this is the first time Jim's murdering of someone gets brought up. Yeah, I mean, well, the reason is that Sky was the one that talked about the dark turn afterwards. You at least put it in our minds. But yeah, I mean, who knows how the Town of Hope's going to react to the murder of one of the cultists. And honestly, I mean, speaking in an above board perspective, because I don't have this planned out yet, but that is another one of those things that I guess, in a sense, I don't even know, pardon me, my thoughts are trailing. I don't know if Rusty knew that you murdered that guy when he had talked to Sam at the bar and basically said, what makes you different than raiders? But now that line is even more blurred, right? It's just well, hey, if you come to our town, at our invitation, and you got something I want from you, I'm going to take it by force. And if you try and stop us, we're just going to kill you in your house. I mean, that's a really intense, and actually, now that we're talking about a really dark shadow falls over the once optimistic Town of Hope. You guys are going to go back and all the shutters are going to be like closed and all the doors are going to be locked. You're going to be pariahs in hope.
There's a tumbleweed.
Yeah. Damn, Jim, you the evil one, says Mac. That's how it sounds. That's how it sounds. But I know, well, we'll go on to Raven now, too, and just say, you and Sam, I think, in particular, were the ones that maybe were the most upset about the cultists leaving those bodies out in the street. And to them, of course, they didn't care. And I'm sorry that, for people listening to this episode, I'm so sorry that we haven't introduced and re-mentioned the Orb Cultists more formally, but the Orb Cultists shake a magic 8-ball and they use that answer to guide them forward. Check out 2 episodes prior. But so you and Sam, Raven and Sam, were going to try and clean those bodies up in the middle of the night. Sort of maybe stayed out partying a little too late or stayed up cleaning your weapons a little too late and forgot about them. And sort of left them out there. Now, the cultists don't care, right? They're just like, well, the orb says not to. But you care, right, Raven? I mean, you were maybe upset about that as well. You guys are really trying to push your values very heavily on this sect. Curious how that makes you feel as a fellow cultist.
Hey, now they left me back in after I nearly destroy the town twice. Also, I didn't like the smell of dead bodies.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But I suppose that's what Raven's got that little face mask for. We're all Mothman cultists. They all like to wear those little gas masks and stuff. I mean, actually, here's probably a legitimate question to you. Would Raven care about the smell of dead bodies at all? In fact, there's probably a lot more evidence to say that she'd be more comfortable around dead, eviscerated bodies than the comfort of a town, right? I mean, as a cultist, as far as I remember your background, and by the way, as I learned more about the Mothman cultists, we have to tweak your background just a little bit in the sense of like, I think at one point we said Raven, it was completely born and raised in Appalachia. Maybe it's that your people were just a little farther north than the Scorch Plague got, north of Clancy Manor. Maybe that's about the furthest south that they came back. But at one point, all of the Mothman cultists in Appalachia died of the Scorch Plague, which I think is fascinating Fallout lore. I was asked about this on Saturday. But yeah, I'm curious. So she didn't like the smell of dead bodies, but yet her culture is very centered around that, in venerating corpses and skulls on, totems and things like that.
Good point, never thought about that way. I was just worried about the town getting sick. Been playing a lot Project Zombied. It has body sickness in game.
Ah, I see. Yeah, that's something to think about, is how she might react to that in character. I mean, of course, you're welcome to play these people however you want, but just to think that they are definitely a more morbid group. But come to think of it, I'm not sure how many bodies you see laying around their encampments. I just sent Raven a picture of one of their blood eagle style. Can I put this on the screen here? That says BRB, but I don't think that's a BRB button. Okay, there we go. Anyway, you can see that picture over here. I'll make it even bigger, maybe. Yeah. Skeleton wings, probably made out of ribs or something like that. Very, very dark looking. Looks quite dark to me. But I need to go through and reanalyze all of
Well, I'm a bit of oddball in my group.
That's true. Probably one of the reasons why you left to begin with. But it does make me want to go and look through. This is why I say I want to get back into 76.
They kick me out.
I want to go back through and look at all this stuff. Here's another picture of totems for you. Oops. Oop, wrong button. There we go. Whew. More skulls. Lots of skulls. Now, I mean, not really meat on the bones of that skull for what it's worth, so that might apply. Might be part of it. What else we got here?
I would like to piggyback off something
Yeah.
that Jim was saying. With Jim having no patience for the metaphysical, I'm curious about how he generally feels about, Raven's particular brand of Mothman, and also especially with the fact that we will be coming to Point Pleasant sometime soon. I'm very curious about how all that will shake out.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. I think Jim doesn't really care too much about, of course, the Mothman stuff, but of course has no ill feelings towards Mac or Raven. I mean, because Raven has been a part of the team now for a month, and it seems that that we've been through a lot together. So
I am curious because I don't remember necessarily if he's ever directly been affected by anything of the Mothman stuff that we've dealt with, like with the visions and things like that. So I'm curious about how, or just flat out potentially the Mothman coming to save us in some points, whether like it'd be through like, I mean, maybe we're just chalking that up to luck, but I am curious about how he how he processes all of that.
right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because like you said, yeah, I haven't been indirectly involved with any of that.
Makes me think back to...
Jim is just a orb hater. The orb said no about something in his past.
Oh. I mean, we thought for a second Jim might be crowned like king of the orb cultists for all of like 5 minutes before the gunfight, before the murder happened. So that's something that almost happened. And maybe will again, who knows? I do want to tease Raven with something where, and I'm very open to feedback on this because I have a couple different ways of doing this. But I was thinking as the Mothman plot intensifies, I was thinking it would probably make sense to have you do a roll either each night or each session in which Raven can attempt, well, let me reword this. I think there'd be a roll once per session or once per night where there would be a roll that you would do, Raven, to see if the Mothman, the cult, etc., tries to commune with you. But I think also a system where you could try to commune with the Mothman, whether it's a singular entity or even just to get back in touch with this sort of almost network of cultists reaching out to you. And so what I'm thinking is a combat die would be rolled probably each night. Again, it could be session. I'm using those terms interchangeably. But you'd roll combat die, and if you got an effect on that die, that would be maybe more indicative of someone reaching out to you. And maybe the same system is used in return to try to contact. And I was thinking maybe when you reach out, it might be interesting to do something. Maybe we should start tracking, maybe I as the GM should start tracking the times that you pray to the Mothman. I guess what I'm trying to talk about here now, broaching the subject, that maybe that's a faction for particularly you to be the ambassador, the envoy to. But maybe a faction that you guys could actually start more statistically gaining rep with. And probably the wrong way to say that, more quantitatively gaining rep with. Because right now, I do treat the reputation system as just a little bit more loosey-goosey, I guess. I just roll with the punches. I mean, I think another way to talk about it would be, when we help the Town of Hope, when you actually do a good quest for them and do something that benefits them, like building the defenses or building the dock or any of that, that brings their happiness with you up. when you lawlessly kill someone in a house, and no, that does the opposite. I mean, I'm probably loosely alluding to the karma system of previous games, although I've not played them and don't have that under my belt. But I mean, it just makes sense from other series, other things. I think back to Fable, a great game for that sort of thing. Your character would grow horns eventually if you were going through and, harming the town. But just something to keep in mind that maybe we could, to gamify this system a little bit more, maybe work on different levels of sort of almost magic powers for Raven. I'm using that word again very loosely, very broadly, to encompass all things mystical around the Mothman. So combat die, maybe taking a tally of how many prayers and like devotions you do and little acts of service, that those things could be maybe cashed in then for you to pull something from the ether. Maybe that's a decent custom perk to be talking about. And this, to the rest of the crew, I know Raven's going to type something, but this to Sam and Jim is something I also welcome from you guys. And this is what I can learn, or this is what I can formulate when I know your background and know what you're into. Sam's already got a little bit of a plot like this. Maybe I think we're back to Sam anyway, sort of discussing him in the Q&A here, and whatever this is, round robin thing. That I don't. Is it? I hope it's not any kind of spoiler. Just to say that Sam is very interested in the remnants of the military and government. Is that right, Sky? He's got a path that has some trajectory in that area.
For sure, the remnants, and especially what came after.
Ooh.
Was the group that is considering themselves to be the modern government.
I can say above board, we know Sam's going to get more tastes of that as he gets closer to Foundation, just generally speaking. We know above board that the White Springs is a very interesting hub for that sort of activity. So maybe something for Sky as a player and Sam as a character that might be very interesting to explore as you go closer to that area. But that's sort of the subplot that I have for Sam, right? Is that you're chasing that, and I mean it's come up quite a few times already. I think you've played the primary plot of 76. Is that right, Sky?
Yes.
So you probably know. Okay. I haven't said to Sky at any point exactly like, here's what's going on, because that's the fun of the game, is figuring it out. But I'm guessing you've probably already caught whiffs of how those paths could be pursued and how you've already pursued them.
Yeah, when a certain character got introduced, I don't know, I'm not going to tiptoe around it, but when an AI got introduced, that definitely piqued my interest.
Yeah, you don't have to tiptoe around it. I'm tiptoeing around it for the sake of everyone. The sake of myself. Yeah. Yes. Well, and see, I didn't honestly know how much you knew about Modus either at the time. Now that you've brought that point up, we can just say Sam's character has interest in pursuing, again, what we understand above board to be the Enclave, what Sam does not understand to be the Enclave. And when a certain AI named Modus got involved in the plot, well, I think that gave Sky, as a player, a direction and an avenue and a person to touch base with to learn more about that.
I will.
Is it like Eden from Fallout 3?
Mm-hmm. I think they're both Zax machines.
Oh dear.
I just wanted to say that I there's people I'm interested in meeting. There's a certain person. I have this in my backstory, so it is like public and everything. But before the war happened and everything, he was introduced to at least the word Enclave in relation to his father, who was pretty high up in the military. He'd be old as dirt now, but they've got the means to to keep people living for a long time, they've got the supplies.
Absolutely true. And that's a good reminder that I need to tidy up everyone's character bios. That's going to be something that gets built out on the website in the future here too. And as I pull this up on the side, actually, this is a good spot to show it off here. Because I was looking at our website just a second ago, that we are going to have call-ins available to this show as well, folks, that if you want to send a message into Tales from Tomorrow, I know this is a feature I'm using more for Vault Broadcast, but if you guys have questions about the show going forward, this will be open to you all. You can use your microphone, set it up just through a browser here where you can record up to 5 minutes, or you can... well, I don't know. There's a little bit of a billing issue. I was trying to become a pro for a month with it and do a thing where you could send in text messages as well. I'm not sure. There was a billing upgrade issue where it charged me, but I didn't get upgraded. So TBD on that. But anyway, folks should be able to... Here, it says only visible to you. Text messages with optional read to speech are available with premium subscriptions. So you might be able to send text messages into the show, but at least you can most certainly record a message and send it in. So that'd be something really fun to do in the future, is get questions from the audience about the characters, about this lore, and then tackle that together as a group. I don't want to cut that topic short for Sam and Sky here, but before I move on to DK, I also want to toss it to you all. We can maybe do this at the end of the round robin, but just to say, if you have questions for me, this would be a great time for you all as the players here to ask any questions of your game master and try and learn whatever you want to learn.
I've got a question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
How do you go about like determining the future like steps, because like I remember the one week you were like, I don't have anything planned, and so if you decide to go anywhere, we won't have anywhere to show on the screen. And so I'm just curious, like, what is the process like for that?
I don't remember that. Oh, I think that was probably one of the things I'd said off air before one of the shows. Is what I can remember. I try, by the way, just above board, not to do that mid-show. The one time I can really think of that I did want to put brakes on you guys was when I had just redone the Town of Hope, and I didn't have the post office done yet. But I knew I had the loose idea of what I wanted to do there, but I just didn't have the full plot orchestrated. And I'm really glad that we simply were just like, called it quits that night anyway. We had tech trouble, I think is what happened. So that wound up being, I know you guys can't see it per se, but it wound up being 10 times better when we had that 1 week to actually implement a full story versus like, okay, guys, go on in, and it's a room, and it has a floor and a wall, and you can see over the counter, like very boring, very, very generic. I don't know if this is a bad thing. I think this is an ADHD thing. My building out of the game could, first of all, be better. I always wish I was that person that took tons of notes and had deep lore libraries, but my brain works in that way that, like a lot of ADHD people, I like a new planner. I like a new app. I like a new place to store notes. I like. And then that's the shiny for me, is like, oh, here, you downloaded a new app. Here's your new notebook. But actually using those things is a whole other can of worms. And so this is a long way to say that when we very first started this game, I had mentioned to you all that I want this to be a test of improv for mostly myself, but I mean, just as a group, I really wanted to get better at improving stories. I think when I had told you guys one week that I didn't have anything built out, it was probably because I was pretty busy. Maybe that was around when I moved in particular.
Yeah.
And making a map has become a real pain in the butt, because Dungeon Draft, which I quickly fell in love with as a tool, it offers a lot, the guy stopped updating the Mac version of it. And I think that's poo-poo. And if anyone out there knows Dungeon Draft people or have any motion, can make any motion in the ocean about it, please do, because I think it sucks that they just stopped updating for Mac. They were selling it for Mac. Apparently they even offered refunds, but I'm just going to have to get off my butt and put it into Windows. Which, sorry, I mean, it sounds like a first world problem to everybody, and it very much is, but it also is one of those things that I've got to hope that all these asset libraries carry over to this other computer, and on the Mac version, it's really bad. It's saving over other files in like the most buggy, inconsistent way. Like you can make a fresh file and you can name it, this is the Town of Hope. And then you open up a Red Rocket gas station, you hit save within the Red Rocket station file, but yet it goes back and saves it over Hope for no reason. Very ridiculous. So that's definitely put a damper on my just pure creativity to build those. So without now threading this all together, it is to say that I try to put myself in the shoes of the people around your characters on a fairly weekly basis. And I try my best 2 or 3 days before we play the game to really start thinking about what you guys were up to and what your expectations are the next day or so. I've known mostly where you're going in advance for this. That's partially up to all of you being fairly calm explorers. And I say that in opposition to like the edgelord explorer type who's like, well, I just want to like tear this thing down and like I want to go off the rails. And well, actually, I already brought this person up before, but when I was advertising the summer campaign series, one of the ideas was to be in a vault for all 3 episodes, and the person in the comments was like, I'm gonna leave the vault right away. And it's like, well, you're probably not gonna be in this campaign, no offense, because we want people that are trying to stay within the realm of what we're intending to do. So I don't know if that answers your question in any way, and I could go deeper into it, but I just try and remember where you were. I try and remember what the other characters are thinking around you. I try and think up some expected reactions, and then I ultimately really hope you guys don't even go the way I'm expecting.
I just gotta say real quick that I empathize with your Mac troubles because I grew up on Mac for most of my childhood and had to deal with not having certain programs and certain games and different things. So I know how that feels.
Yeah, and I absolutely love Mac for creative work. Like I adore it for editing and just all the rest. But you're right, you find those couple programs out there that are just yikes. It's crazy. I don't know. I wish that one were better taken care of because Dungeon Draft is really great. But if it's saving over other files, that's something else. Any other questions for me while we're at it? I like that. That's a really good one, DK.
I don't have any currently.
Absolutely fair. Absolutely fair.
Has there ever been a moment where you've set up a scenario where like you wanted a higher probability of like somebody possibly dying, but the dice wouldn't allow for it?
No, because you guys earlier did not want to die. And so, if anything, I have fluffed the dice in the opposite direction so as not to kill anybody. But there have been moments where it has worried me that you were going to die. You in particular with the Wendigo.
Yeah.
That was a little bit alarming. I think also it's just fair to say that we're also at the stage of this creation and development where I don't feel very paternal about your characters in that way. Like I'm not, and that's probably about, again, that turning point of you guys are now level 8 and you're into it, but those safety guards and training wheels are not really something I am so worried about. The orb cultist fiasco is just a good example of that, where like you thought, I might really die. And I suppose I really wasn't planning on holding too many punches with any of that stuff, if that makes sense.
Right.
But that, I think, just comes from, where we were in the past and what you were looking at then. And yeah. Very different stuff. Who's this person in chat? Albinator. Whoever they are, I don't know what they're even talking about. They called me a Hassan supporter. I don't think they know what they're talking about. Anyway.
Sometime I think Kyle is trying to kill me at a running joke. In a gaming one-time God mode, he did drop me in Volcano.
That's true, in Conan the Barbarian. But think about it this way. I was trying to save you afterwards. In God mode, and making this a very polite thing. Mac, I did you a favor. That's how I'm trying to pitch this. I went up above a volcano, and I may have used the teleport feature that brought her there, and then she fell into the volcano. But as she was falling, I didn't know how to stop that, so I kept typing in the command to resummon her. And so she would keep appearing right next to me and then fall. But
5 times in row.
Her speed kept increasing each time. So eventually the magic hand of Dev God could not save you. You met your untimely end. Or timely, I don't know. God mode, maybe it was all by design.
God mode is fun.
Unless you get dropped in a volcano, huh? So we're coming up on about an hour here tonight. Well, that's crazy that we've already been talking for that long. Are there any other subjects? It's a good time to open it to people. Are there subjects you guys wanted to cover tonight that I haven't asked anything about yet? Or vice versa? Things in your plot, things that you're curious about trying or seeing, etc.
No, just that I want to point out, I find it very interesting that I don't know too much about the lore of Fallout beyond like what I've played, but I find it interesting that we've managed to, at some point or another, come across a feral ghoul that was not so aggressive.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I don't know how often that's portrayed in the series. I feel like Sky probably is the lore keeper of that knowledge in this group. Maybe Raven. Do you have anything to add to that?
I don't know of any personally. I'm sure there's like a joke somewhere in one of those games with them, but really all I know to get you to not have feral ghouls come at you is with a ghoul mask.
Oh, I don't even know about that. How's that work? It have like pheromones to it too? They're surely not tricked just by your face, maybe?
Yeah, that's what it was
That's
in Fallout 3.
Wow.
Yeah, I suppose so. In Fallout 3, you throw the mask on for a quest involving bringing these feral ghouls into this place called Tenpenny Tower, owned by a rich guy and bad people. And they won't let the ghouls in, so the ghouls are like, we'll let feral ghouls in and do the dirty work, and we'll just follow them and everything. So they hook you up with the ghoul mask so the feral ghouls don't attack you. It's one of the best items in the game.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Dang. Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up and bookmark some of this. Okay. Wow.
I know there is one random super mutant named Uncle Leo that appears in world that won't attack you.
There is a long history of super mutants not being bad. It goes as far back as like Fallout 2. They're not all of them are necessarily completely gone from the FEV. Some of them do have faculties, and you can meet some that are perfectly reasonable people.
You remember the when they had the super mutant events in '76? There was a couple of super mutants in those events that were more friendly.
Yeah, I think the super mutant topic is pretty damn interesting. We're gonna have to see if you guys get into that sort of stuff in the future. I do suspect you'll be seeing some super mutants, considering they are around and do plague Foundation quite a bit. Like, they do cause problems over there for sure. We know that from the eviction notice event in the game. Raven's typing a little something. I found that mask too. I'll show it on screen. It's really gross.
But never any ghouls that come to my mind, maybe the ones going to space in New Vegas.
Gross. Going to space in New Vegas. Oh, I'm so excited. We're probably going to see some great stuff around that this fall and winter. I'm just absolutely jazzed. It's going to be a great time, in my opinion, to be in the Fallout universe. The real world is collapsing into Fallout, but which is unfortunate in many, many different ways. But also at the same time, in our small little dose of this part of the world, at least we will maybe get to see season 2 if we all make it to December in one piece.
Come one real life Fallout.
Yeah, come on real life Fallout. Max saying, come on Fallout, real life. Probably not good, Mac. Probably not. You know, the trick is that radiation is magical in Fallout, and it's not magical in real life. So, really rough.
Yeah, you unfortunately don't get to turn ghoulified. You just get the skin falling off, not the perks from being a ghoul.
Yeah. That also is, I guess, something worth bringing up regarding this is Bethesda has now officially changed the way ghouls work with the drug they take to not go feral that was introduced in the TV series. So I can't see that being anything related to Marcus in particular, but just to say that does open maybe new avenues for how we'll see ghouls in the future. I don't know. Maybe Bethesda will introduce a little bit more of that stuff. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I'm not giving a judgment statement in that way, but I think it's already worked into their characters in 76. Like I think there's some mechanic where you do take that kind of drug, and yeah.
And I think that there's no reason why like 1 in a million feral ghouls aren't completely hostile. I like the idea. I mean, the human body is very strange, and who knows how it was affected. Who knows what he might have going on in his brain that caused that.
For sure.
Well, I mean, if you parallel it to real life, I mean, that's what they say is like no virus or illness hits a person the same way with every person. It's always, you know, based upon who the person is and how their body is built, you know, that's how they react to it. But so, you know, there very well could be that like certain feral ghouls just for some reason, the way that they were created as humans, they just don't react in the same way.
I think that's a very good way to put it, DK. I think there's a lot of flexibility, and I think that's the beauty of the Fallout universe as a whole, is that it is not hemmed and stitched in. Like we don't know much about the universe. That's, in my opinion, the fun part about it is the Fallout universe is less told than it actually is. And that's a large way the game's explored, right? Is it's explored through uncovering firsthand accounts. You're going through and you're finding people's personal logs. But then, of course, you have to be mindful that every narrator is biased. Every narrator is biased. Our interests in our daily life and our functions and what benefits us on a day-to-day makes us biased. So I think when you're looking at Fallout and you're talking about exploring those parts of the world in particular, a very rich tapestry to fill in. Like I said, we don't know. We know significantly less than we do.
It's much like the Star Wars universe. I mean, George Lucas, when he created the originals, he made exactly what was needed for the movies, but left everything else up in the air. And that's when, you know, authors and different people came in and expanded the universe into like this whole new thing before, of course, Disney threw that all away. But, you know, so it's kind of the similar way. Like Bethesda just in Interplay, when they made the originals and when Bethesda carried it on, they just made what was necessary for the game and left everything else up to the community to like fill in.
Yeah.
John Hancock. I think he made a ghoul through chems, if I remember right about his backstory. I will look that up.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that did happen. He did. He took some new age chems because he was looking for a high that was better than anything he had before, and it ended up making him a ghoul. He did. I do think he said it was the best high he ever had.
Wow.
But I was going to say it's interesting that you bring that up, DK, because I was reading about Lucas the other day saying that like people just saying that he didn't really care about lore. He just went upon the rule of cool, and if there was something interesting that he thought was cool, he'd add it to it. And that's what I like about our game is that like we do care about the lore largely, but also again rule of cool. It's way cooler to have a feral ghoul postman. Like he's an awesome character. He's one of my favorites. I have come back to him a lot. So
That's great.
I'm totally down for that.
I love that. That's wonderful. The Saturday group that's getting ready for the summer campaign series, they two of the sorry, how do I want to say this? 3 of the 4 people that are going to be players are attending those meetings regularly, and so 2 out of those 3 do not know the lore for Fallout 76, which is really great. It's really fun to kind of convey that to them. And there's a lot of spots of Fallout 76 lore that I don't know, just because I've not played every inch of that game. That's why I watch a lot of stuff like Irresolute Cartographer. But it really, that Fallout 76 as a map is really fun for extrapolating these stories because Bethesda did not do, in my opinion, a great job filling it in. There are a lot of buildings that are closed off. There are a lot of plots that just don't have a satisfying ending to them. I mean, heck, we're talking about this great upcoming campaign that's going to happen someday, but retaking Watoga. I think the people who are playing the current campaign are already like really excited for retaking Watoga. We had like maybe a 30 or more minute discussion about it yesterday. So it's just that's a map in the game that feels very underutilized, and it doesn't feel like players have a lot of reason to go back there. But yet there's all these loose storylines that are together or could be pulled upon. And I'm coming all around just to say that I think the 76 space is great for storytelling because it's just not filled in. There's so many areas to go on further about. The Free Radicals being another great example of that they're set up there as these raiders, but not actually filled in. And you interact with them so minor for how much space they take up on the map. They've got this great kind of fort lumber mill, and yet you interact with them for such a tiny, tiny portion of the game. Lets me tell a lot of stories.
Rule of cool is better than sticking to lore 100%. That's why I like this group. We have some lore background, but we don't hold as lore.
True. I agree. I do my best to hold the story to the lore. I never worry about breaking it. I guess that's also very clear. It's like I'm not worried about breaking it because, well, probably because I'm not one of those GMs. I don't, I don't know. It would take a lot for me to even be in a position to concoct a story that would neglect or would go in the face of the lore. If Marcus not being more feral is one of the, like, if that's one of the only things that I've maybe stepped upon, I don't really, I wonder if you guys know any others that I've done that with. Are there any? I'm just curious because that's a blind spot I may not even recognize. I'm just totally curious.
One thought that I had, especially because we were just talking about it, is that technically when we first met Rusty, that I don't think that would have necessarily happened because he wouldn't have been attacked by feral ghouls. They would have been his friends.
Was Rusty actually attacked by feral ghouls?
Did they chase him into the well? I thought that's what happened.
Right. You are right. Yes. I forgot about that. I forgot about the ghoul in the hole. That's funny. There might be a reason for some of those things too, so who knows? In fact, what I got confused and the reason I had to ask that, I was like, wait, I remember the dogs, and I guess I think I could say this. I don't think, this also is probably a violation of the storyline too. But it was implied that whatever attacked his Brahmin was probably the Wendigo. Was the wild goose chase was that it was the dogs, but it was actually probably the Wendigo, but that doesn't really make too much sense. So in truth, no one knows. It's probably the dog. I don't know. Now it's probably the dogs. The dogs probably attacked those brahmin, as far as I know.
As long you don't change the bombs drop day, I feel like it all golden to go anyway with the story.
You mean how the
also,
bomb...
Rusty might have cheated them ghouls at cards.
That is true.
Oh my god. I guess I can do this above board. Yeah, you know what? This is a retcon that actually works. For whatever reason, through no common sense of the game, feral ghouls are subservient to Wendigos. Don't ask me why. There's no lore to explain it as far as I understand. So theoretically, those ghouls, I mean, this is total retconning. I, again, didn't really plan this. But theoretically, those ghouls would have been in service to the Wendigo. And the way I'm saying this, and I am, totally like editing room floor, cutting this to make more sense, that when you guys discovered him, I knew the story that I wanted the ghoul in the hole, that he was in the well, but I didn't really plan on like why they wouldn't chase him or go after him. I mean, I guess the other implication is that maybe they had other humans working on the farm, and they were the reason the ghouls came through too and attacked. But anyway, there was just the loosest story arc that there was something bad that had eaten his animals, and that's why you guys went to chase the dogs, which kind of didn't have anything to do with it per se. Like the dogs were something you found on your journey. I don't know that the dogs were set up ahead of time. But this is all the fun of improv, right? Like, you guys go in a path, and I'm like, I wonder what enemy would make sense to jump these guys here. And I do part of that by knowing loosely what enemies are in the Fallout 76 game. I do it a little bit of it. That's all a balancing act for me, like 1,000 variables.
Still no Deathclaw.
Yeah. That's right. Still no Deathclaw. I talked about this in the last Overseer's log, if people haven't already gone and listened to that episode, where I sort of broke down that just the idea that I've made a point not to throw every bad guy in the book at you in order. Like, I've not wanted to go from level 1 creatures to level 50 creatures or whatever. Like, I threw the Yao-Guai in there probably way before your level could handle it or something. But it just felt right. It felt more natural that there'd be a Yao-Guai out there than like just cave crickets or something like that. I don't know. Balance.
And I'm just throwing this out there. I would prefer the Deathclaw to be built up too, personally. A lot of people complain about Fallout 4 in that way because the Deathclaw is like one of the first enemies that you fight, and it's supposed to be like this big, powerful creature. I do like that in like Fallout 1, they almost treat the Deathclaw as like a story. Most people haven't encountered one. And then so when you do finally see one, it's like, oh my God. And I think that would be an interesting thing.
That's such an interesting point you bring up, because as a guy who's come to the universe post 76, yeah, I don't look at Deathclaws like they're anything at all. Like, I mean, I'm just like, whatever, Yao-Guai, Deathclaw melts just the same to me like a Mirelurk does. But again, that's the kind of systemic damage that something like 76 has probably done with its like one Wasteland.
Fallout 4 took the teeth out of them, and 76 did too.
Yeah, that, the Deathclaw that spawns in 76, I know they've changed damage a little bit now to nerf some builds that I liked, but like absolutely just one-shot Deathclaws. Like that Deathclaw can't even get out of its nest before it's dead for me. It is literally no more pain than killing a feral ghoul for me. Done. And again, this isn't Kyle sitting here and casting stones per se, but it is something to think about. I personally, as an individual, do not have that kind of like amped up lore behind a Deathclaw like someone would if they'd played the other games, though. And just it lived in the Fallout world before Fallout 4. Don't know why they did that. That makes no sense. Why they did that to the Deathclaw in 4, just to capitalize on a well-known creature.
Mm-hmm.
Fallout 3 and New Vegas Quarry Junction still make my blood run cold to this day.
For sure.
Ooh.
And I just want to say, like, Fallout 4 also did a really great introduction of the Death Claw at the Museum of Witchcraft. Like, you find out that there's something at the Museum of Witchcraft, you go to investigate, and you hear it far before you ever see it, and it rattles the like it rattles the museum. Like, there's like dust falling from the pillars and everything. Like, I just think that's way cooler.
That sounds cool. I like that. Dang. Good points to bring up, though, about like foreshadowing those sort of creatures. I have to go back and look at the sort of the bestiary in the Wanderers is great. Oh, I don't have it sitting behind me right now. It's over there for filming. But the bestiary in those are just, they're awesome. These rule books are so cool. It's very sad, or something to that effect. It's some kind of missed opportunity that more players, more Fallout fans don't have a copy of the Fallout TTRPG, just because, I mean, I don't know. There's tons of people that are excited about it. I just don't think people know about it. But I just flipped to the Algui page. I guess I have the bookmark there anyway. But really nice stuff, right? Like, you get all your stat blocks for your Algui, and is that feral ghouls next to them? It is. So, neat shit. I like it a lot.
I think classic Fallout fans should be more privy to it, because it is, I mean, the first Fallout games were essentially just tabletop RPGs. They were computer RPGs. There's a lot. It's all like internal dice going. It's the same type of building mechanics for a character, and then so I think that truthfully, if people are really missing that type of Fallout, they should be trying something like this.
There you go. You got an endorsement from Sky. And by the way, I mean, subtle promo that you can save 10% if you buy it off the Modiphius shop with the code BTALES at checkout. B as in Bethesda, Tales as in Stories. That's an evergreen code, so you don't have to worry about changing that out like the Bethesda shop code. But I do hope we can keep introducing new people to the game. It's gonna get a lot of attention this year, so I'm really excited, just again, between like within our group and within the new people who are coming to this stuff. Very excited that we're sort of set up in a position to take advantage of this Bethesda caused attention. You know, as the new season comes out, all the press comes out about it. It's gonna be a good time for people like us to be doing games like this, just to get more exposure. And the people listening live or at home, I mean, a lot of the excitement for us, for me in particular, but I've heard it from Sky as well, is it's very cool when we see people who are taking an interest in the story that we're telling. I mean, there's people who've written to me on YouTube and in DMs on Instagram and said, "Oh, I'm catching up on the story and it's really interesting." And so that makes me happy. It makes me happy because this is just our fun sandbox to toy around with. And as I get more comfortable with it, and that's going to be through hosting this campaign and more, that I want to keep doing that. I want to keep having a chunk of people come through. And I really like that we're already starting to attract a group of people who are really cool with doing on-camera stuff and on-stream stuff, because that's obviously what we want to do with it. We want to take it and, make it more than just our little table. We were already doing this digitally and virtually, but taking it to YouTube has really made it more tangible to me, because it's inspired me as the host of it to do more. Do summaries, do short feature things, do some explanations of the rules, and so on and so forth. It's strengthening and deepening my knowledge of the universe. So that's a double win for me.
I agree. It's certainly it's inspired me to just learn more about Fallout, and it's also just gotten me super into tabletop as a whole. Like, it's such an, I know, I mean, people have been playing them for decades, but for me, it's a path I haven't ever really taken. Like we talked about, this is like the first time that I've really ever gotten super deep into it, and I look forward to it every Sunday.
I'm so glad to hear that. I am very glad to hear that. We'll keep diving in deep, and I almost want to show off that other overlay I've concocted, but I'm not going to do that because I'll probably break something before. I just wanted to say I'm really happy with the tech setup for tonight, the streaming, the way this has all gone. Like I'm feeling good about our position in the campaign. I'm feeling good about the position out of the campaign. I'm very excited to just keep meeting people in this space. Like I feel, again, we've already talked about this. I'm being a little bit of a broken record, but like you had said just a few moments ago, Sky, that you're like most tried and true Fallout fans, especially of the older games, should know about the TTRPG and its origins. And I just feel like that's such an interesting group of people to tap into. Like it seems almost guaranteed, in fact, already through my observation, that there are a ton of people in the Fallout community who like TTRPGs, but just don't know that there's already a bridge there that crosses that divide. And I don't know. I feel like there's lots of cool friends to make within that space. And also a cool shout out that that in all the interview stuff and in all the table recruitment for later this year, we've put it forward that we're politically, extreme leftist in our content and characters. And I've made sure to put that as a thing people must check and agree to whenever they're joining and to participate with that stuff, because I don't want people at our tables to come together with the wrong ambitions, shall we say. We just live in extremely politicized times or politically charged times with the violence that's going on behalf of the state. And I don't want any of the people that come to our table to feel uncomfortable because we've accidentally platformed the wrong person. And so I'm very happy. This is probably one of the first things I've really done when it comes to finding new members across the internet. It's the first thing I've done where I've really asked those questions up front. Like, we're an anti-capitalist space. If you're coming on the show, you're going to need to be cool with that. Like, otherwise, it's not going to work. Please sit it out. And I'm just blown away by how many people have, happily checked off that box and have their own personal reasons for why they've done that. Some of them have chosen to, express why they're politically aligned with our views. And I'm sure, we already had that one guy on YouTube who was like, your game had too many complications in it, and I don't like that you guys talked politics, when Mac made a joke about JD Vance at the end. And it was just, I like to think that guy sat there and watched 3 hours of the content and then got upset about it at the very end, because, well, I'd like to think he maybe keeps watching. Please keep the ad time rolling. Keep watching the footage. But again, I just want to make a place that's safe for folks and grow our connections within the community. There's going to be people who don't like what we have to say, but to them, I'd say maybe look at the Fallout universe as a whole. Look at the story it's trying to tell. It's certainly an anti-capitalist one at its core.
Well, and I'll say without really going into detail, but we did luckily have that one instance with that one guy who we caught early, thank God, before we ever got him into one of our tables.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, DK's you're right to bring that up. You're absolutely right. That's true. Somebody in the server, and we will keep this very light, but one of the very first people that wanted to subscribe for the summer campaign series, I can't remember if that was a checkbox in the form yet. I don't think it was, because he was the one that saw the rough draft of it, which was okay. I sent him the rough draft intentionally, but it wasn't done, and it didn't have that box on it. And days later in Discord, he said something about, yeah, when I grew up, I want to be a police officer. And I think I talked live or just afterwards with you, DK. Somehow we were talking about it, and I'd said, I wrote a message back that was like, really, man? Like, you got your life ahead of you. You really want to grow up to be a lackey of the state and have to, like, beat up your neighbors because capitalism demands that their rent increase and doesn't, help them with their salaries, and they want to pick it outside of their place of, of employment, and now you got to go in as the police officer and literally break their eye sockets and stuff like that. Like, and he didn't even his credit or whatever. Like, he was polite about leaving. He just like didn't say anything and just skedaddled off of the server. And you're right, that was, and maybe he even brought someone else, because someone else immediately withdrew their application too. And so I think that really did save us something, because DK and I have, well, actually all of us, this group, but DK and I in particular have done a lot of political stuff, podcasting and the rest.
Yes.
And it's just not worth this is not the space for those kind of debates or anything like that. Like, I'm not a debate guy. We're not a debate space. This is, we have our views, and there's really detailed, lots of reason why we have them. And I guess if anyone out there ever has questions, good-hearted, good, honest questions are always welcome. I'd like people to be educated as to why capitalism does lead to countries nuking themselves for profit, right? I'd like to explain that to people before companies like vault-tec in real life end up doing that. But yeah, that was such a saving grace that person backed out, because that would have been, I don't know, just not fun. Not. There's no way for everyone to feel safe at the table like that. You can't have a cop at the table and have other people who cops regularly attack feel safe about that. Or even a wannabe cop, someone who's not one yet, but just really wants that. Because that is indicative of a predatory psychology as it is.
Well, and to your point about this place not being a debate space, that's something that, we largely use this as an escape for 3 hours from the constant politicization of the world during the other 21 hours of the day and for the rest of the week. We set that limit on ourselves, and we don't even talk politics like when we're doing this. We can that and talk about it like after or like way before.
Yeah, that's a great point to bring up, Scott. That's a really great point. You're right. We try not to. I do sprinkle it into the show, of course. Like, for example, Rusty's very hyperbolic praise of, or very exaggerated praise of capitalism. He doesn't seem to have a working understanding of capitalism himself, based on how he's expressed it to Raven recently. But he's trying to pitch it to her as like, yeah, it's great, I own this because people need it. And sadly, people think that in real life, right? They're like, oh, it's so great that I need water, and Nestle, it's so good that they're around to sell me water. It's like, well, why do you think water's scarce in the first place, dummy? That's Rusty. He's doing that kind of thing. He's like, well, it's great. You need medical supplies. I need money. I'm going to sell you medical supplies at an exorbitant rate. So, I
think that is you playing a game.
Yeah,
like we were talking about, like that's Fallout, and any reference or like joke we make about that is just us playing Fallout.
That is so true. Weird question that I don't know that anyone will have the answer to. In Fallout 4, somewhere in there, is there the hallucinogen gas? Is that something that rings a bell for people here from Fallout 4?
Yes, I do believe so.
Because I just watched a lore video today where environmental lore spoiler for Fallout 76, everybody. Environmental lore spoiler that hallucinogen gas was sold to, I believe, Hawthorne in 76 to suppress rioters, who, of course, were rioting against automation and the massive cuts to their jobs, the huge layoffs as a result of automation. And so it's very poignant. Right? Like the Protectrons, it is inherently political. The Protectrons or police Protectrons are sent out there to attack the protesters. Just the other day in California and San Diego, ICE went and violently raided and assaulted a restaurant. And what did the police do? They came out, they tear gassed the restaurant goers, the eaters there, who got upset that they were watching the staff violently removed. And so what did the police do? They went and proceeded to attack innocent cafe goers, restaurant goers. Just that's where the ridiculousness behind, anyone that says like, what's not going to happen to me? It's like, man, you can't even go and get brunch without the police potentially like shooting you in the face or tear gassing you at the minimum. Like that's happening in real life. And that's explicitly what's explained in Fallout, the mass protests all throughout the Appalachian region. So you're right. It's the story that tells itself.
It was in 76 too. It was used on power plant protesters.
You're probably thinking of the same ones. Those are probably, we're probably talking about the same protesters, but I'm probably maybe citing or sourcing them wrong. You might be right. It's the power plant edition. DK, you were going to say something too. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say that like it really does it really does, if you think about it, translate to the real world. Because we haven't seen it yet, but when there's food shortages and like water shortages, because like we're heading towards that time of water wars and that sort of thing, we're going to be seeing mass riots because people are struggling. And what's going to be the response? It almost entirely always is violence from the state. So I mean, when you look at Fallout, it's almost as if it's like a blueprint for the future in a way,
Scarily, they've gotten so much of it right. And in fact, there's a couple, I guess you could call them probably leftist YouTubers. I don't know their deep politics, but there are a couple YouTubers who've done some interesting videos recently on like how Fallout got it right. And I'm not sure. I mean, Sky, you may have insight into this too, just because you watch a lot of Tim Kane's videos, but I'm not sure like I wonder how they got so much of this correct. I mean, the lore has been built upon from different angles over the years, but it still continues to follow a pretty accurate blueprint of real life. And I think I think the Marxist would say that it's a lot of historical materialism guiding this series, that it's, how did they see into the future like this? Well, if you just extrapolate war after war and dwindling resources, I mean, imperialism does sort of define itself if you're brave enough to look it in the face. So I'm just curious. I mean, who on the staff and like what writers are bringing this sort of story to the forefront? Because 76 is you and I, Sky, have definitely talked about this in the past. 76 is very much a worker story. A lot of the region.
I honestly think we might have to give credit to Bethesda for that one, because a lot of those kind of things I would say didn't start popping up heavily until Bethesda took over.
Interesting. That's interesting. So there's less anti-corporate stuff, you think, maybe in the older games than...
For sure.
That makes sense.
I feel like those games are definitely more of a commentary on just like war in itself.
Mm-hmm.
You see it in the opening shot of Fallout 1. It like shows American soldiers in Canada just like going up and executing a civilian. I think, and like that stuff was brought into the early Fallout. So I do think that was definitely then like commentating on imperialism,
sure.
Which I mean is all tied into capitalism and everything. But I think it was just kind of a different motif.
That definitely makes sense. I definitely followed that. I think the invasion of Canada in particular is a plot that like a lot of people are paying attention to right now. Considering as the Trump administration and their lackeys want to go to war with Canada, which we've seen, this group in particular, we smelled that shit many moons before the Trump administration even began to talk about it, because their paid hirelings on the internet were starting to glaze the idea of war with Canada back in like 2023, 2024.
Donnie must be Fallout fan.
Honestly, well, we'll see, because maybe we do. Maybe it is just generally the Enclave that's doing that IRL. I mean, DK and I have long asked who pays the people like Haz Aldin that have been promoting this war with Canada. Like I said, since back in 2023, 2024, well before Trump and them got in there and started moaning about it. Someone was paying them to say that.
He liked Tenpenny from Fallout 3.
Well,
Oh yeah, because Tenpenny, like, yeah, because he was like, I want you to go and activate the bomb so we can nuke the town of Megaton, and it's just like, that's very scummy.
yeah.
Solely because it's an eyesore.
Oof, really? Just because it's ugly?
Yeah, he's
living in his tower.
He's like a rich British guy living in the penthouse of this former hotel, and that's his problem. Is that when he goes outside to sit on his penthouse balcony, Megaton is just a scrap. It was made of like airplane parts, so it's just a scrap heap. But there's still very valuable people. It's almost like Hope in a way. Like it's a lot of great people living there.
I did watch something about Megaton recently, and I feel like that's an area that I have a fondness for as well. Like you mentioned, the Hope parallel. Like I definitely feel safer with those people than a lot of the other ones out there in the Wasteland. That's for sure, and I can see why. Yeah.
That parallel is so funny because they have their own like coots living there. They got like the power of the atom guy worshipping the bomb in the middle of it. So we just kind of brought in our own guys like that.
You guys will just have to hold on to your butts and see what happens whenever you get back to the town. Like we'll see if the cult has grown in power or shrunken in power. Wow. What if you go back to Hope and like you go back and like all the guards are wearing the infinity symbol? Like what then?
Oh,
You have to smuggle DK into the town or something.
Mom's like really drank the Kool-Aid. Oh no.
One aspect of Hope, actually this is a couple other things. One aspect of Hope that I would like to explore but have not is if there's an underground to it. Is there any kind of sewer system or any kind of infrastructure underneath of the town? Considering it's a small Appalachian town near the river, probably not much because that would be very prone to flooding. But at the same time, I'm always very interested in what's going on outside of view. And to that, a segue that I've always planned there being a more northern portion of the town that mostly spread out into more urban, sorry, that's the wrong word, more just single family occupancy homes and such in that direction. And I've always planned on there being a little bit more happening. There was a radio signal many moons ago that blipped into Tom's attention that came from there. But then that trail went cold in favor of some other more interesting plot stuff that came up. But there's just, there's a lot to explore out there. And there's a lot more across the Ohio River, too. There's quite a lot to dive into in that universe. In our living universe. So just teasing things. Just putting things on the horizon for people that might be interested in pulling on threads.
I really like that you're building out the west side of the Ohio River because like that's something that doesn't exist in the game. So it's just like one of those really awesome benefits of playing this is that we're not constricted by invisible walls. Yes.
That is a great point. That is a nice chunk of map they gave over there to work with. I am very happy with that. Let me pull that up on the screen for people. Fallout 76 map. There is a good chunk of land. Pardon me an extra minute. These are the worst map results and images. Wow. I could have done this 1,000 different ways that would have been better than what I ended up doing. But sure, this low res map is the first of all the other maps that came up were like terribly cropped off. Sorry, everybody. But yeah, there's this huge like chunk of land over here on the left-hand side of the map, the western side of the map that just goes on for a long ways and is not touched at all. I don't know that Bethesda ever will, and they sort of just don't. I don't think that they will. I don't think they'll end up touching that. It seems like, but they did Skyline Valley. Oh, this map's that new. It does have Skyline Valley in it. That's kind of cool. I'm glad Bethesda added an area, and maybe we'll even see. Maybe they will add something new in the next year. If they're going to launch, if they're going to do the new season, new TV series, that is to say, season this fall or winter, then it's possible that spring to summer next year there's a new piece of the map added. I don't know if they go that way, but they seem interested in trying to squeeze the last juices out of Fallout 76 while they can. I'm not opposed. Add some more, but also maybe make it so my computer can play it again, because that's I used to play it so well. Mac too. Her and I had the same issue. But I am thinking, we've been here for a good bit. If you guys would like, this is a great place to bring it to a close. We could, I don't know if we want to do a little extra for our case review. We haven't really had an episode today to do a case review for. But I'm sure maybe people have a couple more questions that we could put into that format. Otherwise, yeah, let's prepare to bring this to a close. Mac's going to say something more, but let's put a topper on this one. I guess that's true. If you guys do have more questions, Sky, DK, Mac, if you want to ask more, we can do a little case log here for 10, 15 minutes. But we'll put an end on the main episode. We will be back next Sunday with a new one. If everything goes well, if, everyone's a full health and all the rest. Like I say, Vault Broadcast is going to start very, very soon. I can pull that up again. That's going to start throughout the week. If you want to see the site I'm showing off on the side here, everybody, you just go to overseerkyle.com. It is the easiest way to get there. I just have a redirect set up for it right now. I can't decide if I'm actually going to pay Notion for a real URL up there. And now I'm struggling to know, what's the meta? What URL do I put? Is it Tales from Tomorrow? Is it Vault Broadcast? I think it's going to be Tales from Tomorrow. I think that all these projects fall underneath Tales from Tomorrow is the way I look at it. But yeah, we got Vault Broadcast up there. If you're interested in getting on the show yourself, being a voice on there, whether you're a podcaster already or you're a creator, whatever it is, we have a form. You can fill this out on the website. Pretty simple. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just submit that. You can ask any questions you got there. Again, we got the call into the show link here as well if you want to drop us one on voice line. And you can subscribe to the newsletter. So this one's a Substack that's not very built out yet, as you can imagine. It's going to start to fill up in the next week. It's going to start to fill up quickly. Also, the YouTube channel, I should call that out, that Vault Broadcast will be up on the Overseer Kyle YouTube page. So you can see there's just nothing up here in the playlist yet, but it will be on that page. So that way, Tales from Tomorrow, the YouTube channel, the podcast, it will stay with the campaign. It will have the Overseer's logs. It will have the case reviews. The case reviews are only up on Substack. I should warn people about that as well. But again, you can find that all up on the website. So you just go to overseerkyle.com. It'll redirect you straight to the website, and you can click on these handy dandy pictures. Hi, Lou. Are you going to get in your chair? Get in your chair. Oh my God, he's in his chair, folks. What do we do? Do I have a camera set up for this? Louis, hold on. Prepare to look cute. How do I do that? I changed my camera over again. Oh wait, I remember I set one of these. There we go. Oh, look at that. Hello, puppy. You're so cute. Oh my gosh. You're a little vault-tec doggy. Oh, goodness. He says. There we go.
What a good boy.
I know. I set up this little nook in the corner because, it was just a fairly cluttered spot over here that I had. And then I decided if I scooched a chair he liked over here, maybe he'd join us. Because he sits there and he kind of cries at me when we play our Fallout game. He wants to go and do other things, but now he doesn't have to. Now he can just do them with us. You can even read your Monsters of West Virginia book, Louie. Look! Yes, you can learn about the Grafton monster. Anyway, Okay, folks, let's bring this one to a close. I've already done a lot of the shout outs. You can go to overseerkyle.com to find all the links to all the shows. You can use the codes BTales29, BTales30, BTales31, BTales32. Try them and add numbers at the end and just see what you get. You can always check the latest YouTube videos as well for an update on that. Want to thank all of our co-players, co-hosts, guests, all of our good friends here at the table, Sky, DK, and Raven, all playing with us and having a great time, all good friends. And we're going to be sure to get them involved in all these different projects too. But we're going to go off and we'll record a little case log if we got some time here. So thank you to everyone listening at home. I don't think there's any other news I can give you all. Sky says in chat, Happy Pride Month. That's true. Happy Pride Month.
Yes.
Great point. It is June 1 today. So just be prepared to defend yourself in all situations, folks. 'Tis the time.
And also reject rainbow corporatism.
Oh, great point.
That I agree with.
Yes.
We're only down for Rainbow Louis.
That's right. Reject rainbow corporatism. No Raytheon-sponsored pride parades. I mean, I guess this is bears saying again. We won't belabor the point too much, but if you're someone out there that does celebrate pride, be conscious as to what pride you're celebrating. Real pride is a riot, and it's about throwing bricks at certain law enforcement, and so it's not about walking with them hand in hand. Like Seattle, how the cops are putting out saying, LGBTs, we're here to help you. It's like they're calling us the gays. LGBTs, we're here to help you after we just maced and attacked a trans protester or just advocate, whoever in the crowd, just beat the shit out of them. Pepper sprayed people in the face and all the rest. But they're here to help. We're not here to beat up and terrorize the protesters. Anyway, let's leave it there. People don't like their politics? Take that. We are political. The stream is political, and Fallout's political. So good night. Good luck, everybody. Be safe, and we'll catch you in the next update. For people at home catching this, it'll be Thursday. You'll get the case review episode, and then Sunday, it starts all over again. Oh, Friday or Saturday, be Overseer's Log. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.